call a good day's work.
Does that mean you're finished?
Well, you would know that policeman's work is never done.
Wishful thinking on my part, I suppose.
But at least I've gone over the sewer file, and me and my trusty little computer are in sync.
You know, sometimes the way you talk about that machine makes me think that we've got someone else living in this house with us.
We do. A trusty slave that saves me a lot of work.
Shame we can't teach it to cook.
No. One thing at a time. We don't want to overload its little circuits now.
Oh, you are sweet, your slaves. Well, the mechanical ones, anyway.
I just don't want this one breaking down the way that monster in the office is always doing.
Yeah, I suppose I should count my blessings.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, nothing ever goes on the fritz in your kitchen.
No, that wasn't what I meant.
Huh?
What I meant was, at least when your office computer breaks down, you can work at home.
Oh.
I'll get it.
Is Robert here?
Yes, he's just... Well, hello, Jimmy Lee. Nice to see you. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, Jimmy Lee. This is not a social call, Commissioner. I've come to pick up the things you found on my mother.
I see.
Yeah. No more stalling. I'm her rightful heir, and I want them.
No one's denying that.
Okay, then will you get them all for me, and I mean everything?
Look, we've been through all this before. I've told you that you'll get those items when I'm ready to release them, and I'm not ready to release them yet.
Oh, no?
No.
Well, Commissioner, I'm afraid you're going to have to. See, I thought you'd give me some trouble, so I made sure that you couldn't.
What's this?
This is a court order telling you that you have to give me my mother's property.
I see.
Yep. For once, the law's on my side. Now, would you mind giving me my property?
Well, I can see I've got no choice. Wait here and I'll get your items for you.
Fine. And, Commissioner, make sure you bring everything. I wouldn't want to have to do this again.
Here's the money. Count it. If you have any doubts as to the amount, it can be checked against the inventory held at police headquarters.
Well, I think it's... wasn't there something else?
Stock certificates, but they belong to Lorena.
Well, you can give those to Lorena. There was something else, Commissioner.
Well, I know what you're after, Jimmy Lee, because I happen to have it right here. I've been going over your mother's file, inserting certain pieces of information in my computer regarding it, including information from this Bible page here. I can see I'm going to have to hand it over to you.
That's right.
But I want to make one thing perfectly clear to you.
What's that, Commissioner?
I'm aware of the implication of that piece of paper.
So are a lot of people.
Exactly. Now, I can't legally withhold it from you, but I can promise you one thing, that if you illegally use it, and I'm referring to blackmail, I'm going to throw the book at you. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, well, I'll just keep that in mind. That's it, then.
One more thing. There were some other items found in your mother's body.
Yeah, you said some pictures.
Right. Rather incriminating ones.
And you also said that they could cause some complications.
They could make life rather difficult for some people if made public.
Well, I said it before, and I'll say it again, Commissioner. I don't know anything about those pictures.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. Actually, I have a suggestion. To save going through all the legal morass of what photograph belongs to who, I'd like to destroy them with your permission.
Okay. I couldn't care less about the pictures. I got everything I want right here. I'll put it to good use, Commissioner. Have a nice day. Miss Scorpio, good day.
I have never in my life enjoyed anything so much.
Never?
Oh, I suppose that's not quite true. But I am very relieved now that that case is over for me.
Yes, I doubt that it's over for the Quartermains.
Jimmy Lee, you mean?
Oh, you saw the look on his face when he finally got his hot little hands on that Bible page. And I doubt that he was thinking of that old-time religion.
But you don't think he'd actually use that Bible entry against the Quartermains after what you said to him?
I don't think for a minute that's going to stop him. No more than it would stop the Quartermains if the situation was reversed. And he has the Quartermain streak in him.
But knowing that you're forewarned, wouldn't blackmail be an awful risk for Jimmy Lee?
I doubt it. He knows full well the Quartermains will never bring a complaint to me. Unless they do, I can't interfere.
There's nothing you can do?
There is one thing. I can call up Edward and tell him that Jimmy Lee has come to me with a court order and that I've been forced to hand over the Bible page. Well, the Quartermains were hardly thrilled.
Did you expect them to be?
Not exactly, but I've done the best I can.
Well, at least they're on notice now.
I told Edward that if anything unseemly happened regarding the family and Jimmy Lee because of that Bible page, to contact me.
Do you think he'll take you up on it?
No, people like that deal with things themselves.
Well, actually, you have to admire them in a way. I wish I could deal with Leo myself.
I'd like to get my hands on him, too.
But what's going to happen to him now? Does he get off scot-free?
Afraid so.
But that's outrageous.
I agree with you.
But there must be something you can do.
Amanda Barrington and Sylvia Whitby have both refused to testify. Now, unless you want to get involved in it, no witnesses, no case.
But that is so unjust.
That it is.
It really makes my blood boil that he can get away with it. He should be made to suffer like his victims.
Now, wait a minute. I don't want you taking the law into your own hands. We've had enough trouble with you playing junior G-man as it is.
You don't have to worry. I'm not going to take the law into my own hands.
You've got no idea how happy that makes me feel.
But I am off to the spa now to see if there isn't some way I can legitimately make Leo's life as miserable as he made mine. Oh, there you are. See anything you like?
Well, I really wasn't checking for myself. I was just making sure we have a good selection of various sizes.
Satisfied?
Oh, yes. You're doing a terrific job with the boutique, Holly. I can't imagine the spa without it.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way because I wanted to talk to you about some other things that we might do with it.
Other things.
Right. Well, now that the scandal is simmering down, I thought maybe we could make the boutique a little more active. Try and attract some other customers who might not normally come to the spa.
Well, it sounds good to me. What did you have in mind?
Well, to begin with, I thought maybe a little discreet advertising. Say a one-day special reduction on some of the merchandise. Get the people in here so they can look over the place.
Well, that sounds terrific. Once they're in the door, then they'd be exposed to our other services.
Right, I knew you'd see the advantage.
Yeah, well, it would be good to see this place operating at full capacity again. I admit that business is down.
Well, it's to be expected. Even a hint of scandal is bad for any business. Unless you're selling newspapers.
Oh, Lorena, this is the best day I have spent in ages. I feel like a new woman.
Oh, you look like a new woman.
I can make a habit out of it.
Well, why don't you? You certainly deserve it.
Well, now, who's going to feed all those people at the diner while I'm lolling about in the sauna?
Well, who's there now?
Bobby, but I couldn't ask her to do it all the time.
Well, you just keep us in mind for those special days when you can break away, okay?
Oh, I really will. I just hate to see the day end.
Have fun.
Thanks.
See, just get them through the door and they're sold.
Yeah, well, we will have to work on that. Meanwhile, I better start closing up.
Yes, I suppose I have to too. Have you seen Leo?
Not for a while. He's probably in the massage room.
The money that's due us today hasn't slipped through his fingers.
Payday, Leo.
Give me a break.
We did. And we'll continue to do that as long as you keep up your weekly payment.
You happy?
You know, I think maybe I'll give him 5. Here, Leo. Just a little tip for all your troubles.
What a nice idea, Amanda. He really does deserve it, doesn't he? Let's see you don't spend that all at once. If you could have seen Leo's face when Mrs. Barrington offered him a tip, I thought I was going to explode.
Sounds like that jerk got his comeuppance.
Oh, he did, in spades. And you're going to love this. They both gave him $5.
$5?
Mm-hmm. And Sylvia said to him, don't spend it all at once.
Oh, well, I guess the poor guy must have died 1,000 deaths.
Don't tell me you're feeling sorry for him.
No, hardly. No. The punishment fit the crime.
Yes, I think the police could learn a lesson or two from those ladies.
No, we'd never get away with that.
Why not? You said yourself it was the perfect retribution.
No, there's a little item that might hamper us.
What's that?
No, something about cruel and unjust punishment.
Oh, see what you mean.
In any case, it's a rather great finale to an ugly story. I'm glad we've closed the book on it.
Me too.
Well, then what are you doing over there? Come and see here. There now. Isn't that better? Hmm?
Mm.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
No. I think we should move this party elsewhere. All right, I'm coming. Grant?
Robert, look, I'm sorry to disturb you at this hour of the morning, but something's come up.
Well, come in, please.
Please.
I don't think we've had the pleasure.
Robert, this is Mrs. Porchenko.
Porchenko, as in?
Yes. She's the wife of my old professor from back in the motherland.
Well, you'll have to pardon me, Mrs. Porchenko, if I say that you're the last person in the world I expected Grant to bring over for breakfast.
I'm afraid that this is anything but a social call.
I guess that. What's up?
Mrs. Porchenko has a problem, a big one, and she needs your help fast. Shall I? Mrs. Porchenko and her husband were in the U.S. to take part in a sort of a medical Olympia that's being held in New York City. He is, as you know, a doctor, and she's a medical researcher. Anyway, they were upstate yesterday taking a tour of some of the facilities.
And something happened.
Yeah. The first step in their defection. Both she and her husband had wanted to leave the motherland for some time. They planned to make their move during this trip.
How did they manage to get in touch with her?
Well, Dr. Porchenko knew where he could reach me because he was contacted last year about verifying my medical credentials.
Which he refused to do.
Yes, he did refuse.
He would not lift a finger in your behalf, yet now he doesn't hesitate to ask you for your help.
It is true, Mrs. Andrews. My husband did not comply with Grant's request, but not because he did not want to.
Meaning what?
He could not.
Why?
The DVX?
Yes,
That's what I figured.
they forbade it. We both were most upset, but what could we do?
Please, go on.
I slipped away from the medical group in Cooperstown. My husband, how do you say it, covered for me. We hoped that they wouldn't miss me until the bus arrived in New York City.
But by now, the DVX must know that you've defected.
I think not. My husband was going to pretend that I unwillingly separated from my group. He was going to appear very upset about my disappearance, claiming that I was lost in a strange land.
Well, it might fool them, but not for very long.
That's why we're here.
Please, Commissioner Scorpio, will you help me?
To do what?
Save my husband.
We're going to New York City tonight, Robert. We want to get Dr. Porchenko out of there before the DVX begins to suspect that he, too, may be planning to defect.
He'll need to be placed in a heavy guard.
That's what I thought. That's where you come in. What do you say?
You don't bring me the easy ones, do you?
The easy ones I can handle by myself.
Neither of you should be handling this. Surely this is a job for the WSB.
Maybe. Maybe not.
You two can't seriously be thinking of going through with this.
Why should the WSB have all the fun? We can't be too careful.
I don't believe that Dr. Porchenko would try to hurt me.
DVX controlled him once before. What's to say they're not doing it again?
I suppose you're right.
Or Mrs. Porchenko could be telling the truth.
How do we find that out? We don't have much time.
I can run a check on her story through the computer, and I won't guarantee it's anything, except maybe to ascertain whether she's up to anything else aside from defecting.
Like, trying to set me up?
I wouldn't put it past the DVX. I mean, would you?
No. No, I wouldn't, and yet I can't imagine Dr. Porchenko involved in anything like that.
Let me run it through the computer, and then we'll work out a game plan.
Good.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Porchenko. I was so wrapped up in your story, I forgot about being a good hostess. Maybe you'd like to freshen up or rest for a while in our guest room. You must be exhausted.
It's very kind of you. I am tired. I hardly slept at all last night.
Yes, I can imagine. Why don't you come here?
Yeah, I do care more.
Am I interrupting something?
Nothing important, Robert. No. What's the story?
Mrs. Porchenko's story checks out.
I knew that it would.
She's telling the truth as far as we know.
And how far is that?
Well, if you mean like what's going on in her or her husband's head, is that what you're asking?
Yes, and we won't know that until it's too late.
Robert, I was wondering, couldn't the man in New York be an imposter, an agent sent by the DVX to act as a spy?
It's possible.
Well, how would we know the difference?
I'm counting on the fact that Grant would. I mean, you can identify Porchenko.
Of course.
Beyond a doubt?
Without question. He was the closest friend I had in the motherland.
Let's hope he still is.
Well, the only way to find that out is to go in and get him.
Right.
So what's the plan?
We fly to New York and meet the man. If it's the real Porchenko, we help him defect.
And if it isn't?
He does live in New York City.
So, what exactly are the arrangements you have with your husband to meet him? I mean, do you have a place set up?
We arranged to meet at a restaurant at 8 o'clock this evening.
So he's expecting you?
Oh, yes, of course. He does not know anyone else, except for Grant.
Grant's going to have to do.
What do you mean?
I do not understand.
We can't take it with us.
No, I suppose not.
Much too dangerous.
Mrs. Porchenko, the commissioner is right. It's going to be much safer for you to stay here in Port Charles.
I would like to be with you when you rescue my husband, but I do understand your concern. Very well. I shall remain here.
Good. Now, the question is where?
Well, couldn't she stay here with Holly? I don't mean to impose.
Oh, that's all right.
Holly won't be here.
Oh?
I'm taking her with us, and Celia too.
Oh, I was hoping you would.
Me? Excuse me, but why them and not me?
Well, the DVX will be looking for you, Mrs. Porchenko, not Celia or Holly. Now, if we have our wives with us, it just looks as if we're having a nice little casual weekend in the city.
What a splendid idea.
Let's hope the DVX buy it.
Yes, but what do we do with Mrs. Porchenko? We can't just stash her in the gatehouse. If they do come to Port Charles looking for her, that's going to be the first place the DVX would check.
Isn't there somewhere we can leave her?
I'm so sorry to be so much trouble.
No, wait just a second. Why don't we check her into General Hospital?
What as, Mrs. Porchenko defected?
No, we'll check her in as Jane Doe, amnesia victim.
That's not bad at all.
Where could she possibly be safer?
All right, we'll need to bring Steve Hardy on this. We'll need his help to set it up. You reckon you can pull it off?
For my husband and my freedom, I can do anything.
Ah, there you are, Commissioner. I've been expecting you. Hello, Brent.
Hello, Steve.
So this is the unfortunate woman,
Yeah, she's a victim in a case I'm investigating.
and you know nothing about it.
Nothing. We just found her like this. Grant examined her.
And?
Well, it was just a tentative diagnosis, Steve, but it seemed to be a pretty clear case of amnesia. Probably brought on by the blow she received to the head.
I see. You found no identification on her?
Not a thing. Whoever hit her also cleaned out her purse.
I'll have to admit the patient is Jane Doe. I started the procedure right after you called me. I'll assign a neurologist to her. Probably Dr. Jones.
I want to thank you for this, Steve. I'm sorry to spring this on at the last minute.
Don't apologize. This is a hospital. That's what we're here for. Well, I better see about arranging to move her upstairs. Excuse me.
Well, I'd say that you and Dr. Hardy both played that beautifully. Keep it up.
We better let Anthony in on this, on who Mrs. Pochenko really is, before we leave for New York.
It's a good idea, since he's going to be the one treating her.
I haven't had an adventure in ages.
You don't have anything else?
Still, I'm glad you're letting me in on this one.
One condition.
I hate it when you say that.
Take it or leave it.
What's the condition?
You do exactly as I say.
Oh, is that all?
Isn't that enough?
Oh, that's easy. I'll do exactly as you say, darling. Within reason.
Beginning to think I should have applied more conditions to this adventure.
Oh, this is going to be such fun, you'll see. But I wonder where Grant and Celia are. The limo's outside to take us to the airport, and then it's off to New York and Dr. Pochenko.
Oh, sorry we're late.
Hi. We had to let the Quartermains know that we were off to New York for the weekend.
What was the reason you gave them for going?
Grant and I are taking a little holiday with you two.
Any questions?
No, but what are we going to tell them if we come back tomorrow?
Don't worry about that tomorrow.
We can always say we got bored.
Not much chance of that on this trip.
Let's hope all we get is bored.
And Dr. Pochenko.
Right. Now, everybody, Celia, Holly, Drill, listen. You two are going solely as our cover. Nothing else. Is that clear?
Yes, Coach.
I mean it.
What do you think I'm going to do?
I don't want to think about that. Now, the object of this little excursion is not to see how much excitement we can have. We simply want to make contact with Dr. Pochenko and establish two facts. One, that he is the real Dr. Pochenko, and two, that his desire to defect is sincere.
You're still worried about a trick?
Yeah, and I will be too till we get him safely back to Port Charles. Now, if he meets both of these qualifications, we get him out of there quickly and quietly. Any questions?
None here?
All right, now it's quite possible we're going to have a little encounter with the DVX, especially if they've discovered Mrs. Pochenko is missing. They may assume that she's defected. Everybody stay on your toes. I don't want any heroes, just team players. Agreed?
Agreed.
Well, I can hardly wait.
I can.
Are you not excited?
Worried is more like it.
You'll feel better once we're underway.
I'll feel better when it's all over.
Ladies and gentlemen, our limo awaits. We have a dinner engagement with one Dr. Pochenko.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. If you're ready, I'll take you to your room now.
Thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes, all right?
Good.
See you later.
It's almost time to go to the restaurant and meet Pochenko.
Soon? Well, a few details to discuss first.
Right, and we'll move out. But first, let's get our strategy established. What are you going to have?
I haven't decided yet. Celia, well, what looks good to you?
I'm not hungry, but I could use a drink.
Darling, you've got to eat something.
I just said I'm not hungry.
Brooke, are you keeping track of the time?
Mm-hmm. Pochenko's late.
Yes, he is, but it's still too early to start worrying about her.
I agree. So let's all order dinner and just act natural.
Exactly.
Ah, and later? Later? What do we do later when Pochenko gets here? If Pochenko gets here.
Well, on an arrangement like this, you play a lot of it by ear.
Right. One step at a time. We're on.
What?
Don't look now, but Pochenko just walked in.
Good. Has he seen you yet?
He's looking around.
Give him some time. Let's
Yeah.
just be casual. We're just two couples out having a nice dinner.
He spotted me, Robert.
Is he coming this way?
No, he isn't. Uh-oh.
What?
He's signaling me.
Meaning what?
There's 2 men at the table. They're just behind you. Don't look. Porchenko just alerted me. They're DVX agents.
Lord, I knew this would.
Let's just stay calm, huh? What's Porchenko doing?
Stalling. Giving me another signal.
What does it mean?
He is going to follow our lead.
The two agents seen him?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. They haven't taken their eyes off of him.
So he's waiting for us to make the first move.
That's right.
Meaning, from now on, it's up to us. And the lady will have the filet medium rare.
The béarnaise?
Holly?
Please.
Thank you. Very good.
Where's Porchenko now?
Still at the bar.
Are the two agents still watching him?
Mm-hmm.
Are they watching us as well?
No, not in particular.
Good. Then let's just keep the show going. We're all having a good time.
Oh, yes, a very good time with two VVX agents really on top of us.
See, just relax. Nobody has marked us.
They won't, as long as we stay casual.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, guys, it's a good time, huh?
How about a toast?
That's a good idea. To good friends.
And a good time.
Good friends.
You son of Porchenko?
Staying right at the bar.
Waiting for us to make a move, right?
That's what he signaled.
All right, let's look at this. The DVX know Porchenko's here.
Right?
They're probably armed.
No question about that.
And we can't risk a shootout in a crowded restaurant.
Killing innocent bystanders wouldn't mean anything to the DVX.
I know that. But it's making Porchenko a target that I'm worried about.
He's the first one they'd cut down.
Grant, this talk is making me very nervous.
Darling, just hang in there.
We're going to have to make a move pretty soon, aren't we, Robert?
One way or another, although at this point I'm not quite sure what that move is. The goal would seem to be to get Porchenko out of here safely without endangering any lives.
Yeah, but with the DVX aware of the fact that he's here, that seems more impossible all the time.
Maybe not.
No?
But I may have an idea. Tell me what you think.
Thoroughly underestimated you. That's a brilliant idea.
What is it? Stay with me.
We'll be right with you. Go.
Would you excuse me? I'm going to go to the powder room. Celia, would you like to come with me?
Celia, you want to go with Holly, don't you?
Oh, yes,
Right.
of course. I was...
Use us.
Certainly. Robert, I do hope that you're not counting on my wife. She's awfully jumpy.
I need to stay with Holly. Just keep an eye on him. It's going to go down any minute.
All right, what do you want me to do?
Just what comes natural. Here we go.
Oh! You degenerate! How dare you pinch me? How dare you?
Hey, lady.
Doctor, it's all over now. Come on, just try to relax.
I am still very much frightened.
Of course you are. Grant's right. It's worked, and it's worked very well, thanks to a brilliant plan by my wife.
I'm just glad everything worked out.
Yeah, we all are. Celia, would you do me a favor? Could you get the doctor a glass of water? I think that might help.
No, please do not make trouble about me. That's all right.
It's not a question of trouble, Dr. Porchenko, but we do have some problems. Now, I can assume you still want it effect.
And to see my wife.
Your wife is fine, Dr. Push.
When can I be with her?
If you don't mind, one problem at a time. Let's deal with this defection. Ordinarily, it'll be a case of simply asking for asylum.
Yeah, but this isn't ordinary, is it?
Far from it. New York City's a hot place for you right now. And there's no way we can just haul you into a public building, certainly not at night.
I do not ask for protection unless I have something to offer in return.
Oh? What is that, Doctor?
I have something to trade if I am permitted to defect.
Mind telling us what that is?
Forgive me, I must be very careful. I would like Grant to be my, how do you say, middleman.
It's understandable. Grant, I think the best thing to do now is for me to contact Ballantyne in Washington.
Yeah, I think you're right. The commissioner is referring to one of our very highly placed government officials. He can take care of everything.
Whatever you think is best.
Robert, please, go ahead and make the call.
Yeah, I will.
Doctor, why don't you take a sip? Come on. It'll help.
Put me through to Ballantyne, will you? Robert Scorpio here. What? How long a vacation? I see. Well, there's no one else? Well, hang on. Why can't you patch me through to him? All right, what about McAllister, then? That's Ballantyne's assistant.
I remember.
On assignment where? No, never mind. I'm better than to ask a question like that. No, not just at the moment. However, I may need to get back to you. Thank you. Damn. There are 2 or 3 assistants on permanent standby, but I'd rather not deal with a stranger. This whole thing's been so spontaneous, I'd have to spend an hour briefing him.
So, that means we just wait here?
No, it just means we're trying our best to minimize the risks.
Don't you think we could have done that better in Port Charles?
But we didn't stay in Port Charles, so we'll just go from there.
I am much trouble for you. I had that feeling.
Not at all, Doctor.
Mr. Porchenko, I promise you, we will find a plan, and it will work.
And you will be reunited with your wife.
That is all I ask.
Yeah, who is it? Room service. One moment. Come in, it's not locked. Yes? That settles it. We take the service elevator down the back and get to that copter back to Port Charles and quick.
Come on, we're all set. Makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Worth anything.
I'm sorry, it's getting a little crowded in here. Do you guys mind? Doctor, we understand.
Well, I gotta get to work.
I wonder how the Porchenkos are.
Spoke to Anthony Jones while you're in the kitchen. They're quite safe.
Oh, well, that's a relief. I could hardly sleep last night trying to figure out what our next move would be.
You're really enjoying this, aren't you? Hmm?
Well, you have to admit, it's a lot more fun than selling scarves at the boutique.
Not to mention dangerous.
Yes, isn't it? So, what is our next move?
Our next move? Well, needless to say, we've got to move them out of the hospital. They're far too vulnerable there.
Then what?
Well, I haven't thought about that bit yet. First, we keep them safe, and then we try to work out this business of their defection with the State Department.
But it will be all right, won't it?
Oh, see why not?
I'll get it.
Good morning, Mr. Scorpio.
Ah, Mr. Jackson from the State Department. You want to see my husband?
You bet I do.
Did you get my message?
I've got more than that, Scorpio. I've got a great big headache at State because of the Porchenkos. And you are in one hell of a lot of trouble. Dangerous game, Scorpio.
I did what I had to do.
And broke every rule doing it.
I wasn't aware that there were rules for defection.
I assure you, Mrs. Scorpio, there are very definite ones.
Well, I didn't have time to run to the local library and borrow a copy of them.
Don't get flip about this, Robert. The State Department is very upset.
The Porchenkos asked for political asylum.
And you had no right helping them.
Why not?
To begin with, an ordinary citizen cannot accept a defector.
That's ridiculous.
You know very well Porchenko should have notified someone at State of his intention to defect before he did it.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
The State Department doesn't make up these rules for the fun of it. There are reasons.
Such as?
It guards against any possible
accusations later on that we coerced the defector.
Oh, I assure you, we didn't do that.
That is not the point.
There was hardly time to observe protocol.
Mrs. Porchenko had already defected, and she and her husband were in great danger.
Why didn't you call us then?
We did. Valentine, vacation, McAllister, unavailable. What am I meant to do? Sit them down at a table with the DVX and say, have a few drinks until I find someone?
Well, you could have done something else. I had to act. It was not in your authority to act. Look, as a former WSB agent, you knew that.
I did what I felt was right. As a man, a human being, not an agent.
The Porchenkos were in a terrible predicament. Mr. Jackson, surely you can't fault my husband for wanting to help.
That is not the point.
This whole conversation has no point. They've defected, and that's that.
Not legally. Now, where are they?
They're safe.
Where?
Darling, look after Mr. Jackson, will you?
Where are you going?
I got to dress for work. I'm expected there, and I know how hot you are and people doing things that they're expected to do.
Now, hold on a minute, Scorpio.
Mr. Jackson, please, come on. Let me take your coat. Sit down. I'll get you a lovely croissant to go with that coffee. Please.
I'm sorry that took so long.
That's all right. Your wife is a charming hostess.
The poor man hadn't had a thing to eat since he left Washington this morning.
Look, I apologize for the way I came storming in here. You must think I'm a real bear, Mrs. Scorpio.
Not at all. And please, call me Holly.
Holly. Look, Robert, try to look at my side of this, will you? The State Department had me up all night over this Porchenko mess. I've been under a lot of pressure because of this.
It's not as if states never handled a defection before.
This one's different.
How?
The fact that the Porchenkos were helped by a WSB agent.
Former WSB agent.
Try telling Porchenko's embassy that.
They think Robert still works for the government?
That's right. So they're saying the Porchenkos didn't defect voluntarily.
They know very well they did.
Nevertheless, Porchenko's embassy has filed a formal complaint charging the United States with abduction.
Now that is absurd.
Of course it is. But they're sure as hell not going to admit the truth.
Which is, of course, that 2 of their citizens got fed up with living under an oppressive government.
Anyway, now you know why I wasn't too pleased when I rolled in here.
So what happens now?
The protocol requires that we allow their embassy officials to interview the Porchenkos.
Embassy officials. Read DVX.
We know that. They know it. But that's the rule.
But why?
So Porchenko's country can determine whether or not they really want to defect.
Look, hang their country and their complaints. The only reason they want to get them on their own is so that they can intimidate them into changing their minds.
If we don't grant them this interview, they will tell the whole world that the United States government is holding 2 of their citizens against their will.
So the Porchenkos will say we're not.
And Porchenko's country will claim that we're using threats to make them say that.
DVX agent tried to kill them last night.
I promise you they'll be safe.
No.
You know, maybe it would be better if they spoke to their embassy people.
Why?
Well, that way the Porchenkos could make it perfectly clear that they want to stay here.
The country really can't afford an international incident, Robert.
I don't see that there's any other choice.
All right. However, there will be certain ground rules.
We'll discuss that later. Now, will you tell me where they are?
You set up the meeting first.
I assure you, no one will know but me.
You arrange the meeting, then we'll discuss where they are.
All right. I'll get to work on it. As soon as I have all the details worked out, I'll call you at your office.
No tricks.
I'm on the good guy's side, remember? Nice seeing you again, Holly.
I don't like this.
Then why did you come in on his side?
For the Porchenko's sake. The sooner we deal with this, the sooner they'll be able to get on with normal life.
Unless, of course, the DVX foul it up. I've got to call Grant and tell him what's going on.
Hello?
Grant, it's Robert.
Are the Porchenkos all right?
Well, so far, yeah, but we got trouble. Jackson was just here.
From the State Department?
You remember him?
Yeah, my old friend. He gave me a pretty thorough going over when I defected. What did he want?
Well, he's furious over our involvement with the Porchenkos. He said Porchenko's embassy has filed a complaint claiming coercion.
That's to be expected.
Yeah, well, anyway, they want to interview them.
No. Robert, every one of those people is involved with the DVX.
You don't have to tell me that. But I can't go into it now, Grant. Can you meet me at the hospital?
Of course. I wouldn't advise telling the Porchenkos about this right away.
Oh, why not?
Because if they find out that the embassy wants to talk to them, they could take it the wrong way, misinterpret, think that we are giving in to the pressure.
Yeah, good point. All right, then all we do is assure them that we're still on their side. Because, look, if they try to run, there's no way we can protect them.
I couldn't agree more. I'll meet you at the hospital.
I really can't answer that, Dr. Porchenko.
Well, surely you can give us some idea when we can cease hiding.
Aren't they treating you well here?
Very well. We don't mean to be ungrateful.
It is very unsettling, not knowing what is going to happen.
Well, Doctor, there's one thing you can count on. You are going to be free very soon.
You know, perhaps I've been living in my country so long that I have forgotten that freedom is possible.
Well, it certainly is for you.
Have you heard anything about what's to be done with us?
As a matter of fact, I talked with a State Department official today.
And?
Well, there's still a little bit of red tape to work through.
Like what?
Just formalities. Some paperwork, some people you have to talk to.
What people?
Oh, you know, bureaucrats.
But who?
We don't know yet.
No. I don't like it.
Doctor, I promise you there's nothing to worry about. I went through the same process myself.
Really, Doctor, there is nothing for you to worry about.
I am afraid, Mr. Scorpio. I am afraid of your bureaucrats not allowing us to come to the United States to live.
That's just not true.
But who are we? We are not famous dancers. We're not famous artists. Why would they risk all this trouble for us?
I feel there's something you're not telling us.
Look, you must believe here that Grant and I are doing everything possible to assure your safety.
But you cannot promise us that we will not be turned over to the DVX.
Grant, you know how dangerous they are.
Yes, I do. And I also know that they can be beaten, and I swear to you that that is exactly what we're going to do. I'll never let them take you back, never.
Code red, 4th floor with crash unit staff. Code red, 4th floor with crash unit staff.
How is Jackson? I've got to get back to the office.
Did he say what it's about?
Something about bringing over an embassy official.
You think that they might want to talk to the Porchenkos today?
He wouldn't say.
All right. Robert, let me sit in on the meeting.
Wait a minute, Grant. I don't think that's such a good idea. Now, you're not really on the DVX's list of Mr. Wonderfuls.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stay out of it for now, but I want in on the official meeting.
See if I can swing it.
Please. Celia, what are you doing here?
Well, didn't you get the message that I called?
Yes, but I was heading straight home. What's wrong?
Celia and I were talking, and we decided we want to come down here ourselves.
We want to know what's going on with the Porchenkos.
Look, you've both done your share.
Well, sure, but it's not over yet, and until it is, we think we have a right to know what's happening.
Robert, if it's all right with you, I would like to let Celia in on our progress. I know from experience how much my actions can affect her life.
Thank you, Grant.
Well...
Since when have you ever bothered to ask my permission to do anything?
Did you tell the Porchenkos yet that they have to be interviewed by embassy officials?
Well, we decided to wait on that one.
Yeah, they're still quite shaken by what's happened already.
And, somewhat unsure of their position.
What is their position? Will they be able to defect after the meeting?
To be perfectly honest, that's the real reason we haven't yet told them about the meeting.
Dr. Porchenko is rather concerned that they won't be allowed to stay here, and I really can't blame him.
But surely they'll be allowed to defect.
You heard how negative Jackson was this morning. I mean, right now, I can't say for sure whether the verdict could go against them.
Yeah.
But they'd have to go back to their own country.
Holly, what it means, in effect, is that their lives would be forfeit, and I won't have that happen.
Still, Grant, there is a limit to what you can do.
I will not see them sent back.
Grant, you are hardly in a position to defy the United States government. If they say they have to go back, what else can we do?
Wait a minute. Now, I think we're all being a little pessimistic at this point. The verdict could well go in their favor.
It could, but let's suppose it doesn't. We have to have an alternative plan.
Well, we can hardly keep putting them from hiding place to hiding place.
I'll do whatever I have to do. The Porchenkos are not being sent back to the motherland.
Look, I've got to get back to the office.
Dr. Randy.
This won't take long, Robert. You're right about that. The meeting's over.
What?
You told me you were bringing here an embassy official.
That's right.
This guy's DVX.
You are mistaken, Mr. Scorpio.
Oh, come on. I've read as many DVX dossiers as you've read of many as ours.
Enough, Robert.
Look, I'm not letting this guy within shooting distance of the Porchenkos.
I said that's enough, Robert.
I told you. I told you this was the way they'd operate.
I am not going to let you insult this gentleman. He happens to be the undersecretary to the ambassador.
Yeah, and I'm Donald Duck. Now get him out of here.
We're not leaving here until this man has our assurance that his people will be able to interview the Porchenkos.
Alone. Absolutely not.
It's their right, Scorpio.
People like this don't have any rights in this country.
Look, you're not with the WSB anymore. You cannot bend the rules.
Look, there's no telling what's going to happen to them if these people get them alone.
I resent your insinuation. You're not helping the Porchenkos' case any, Robert.
All right. You can have your meeting. But I want to be there.
So you can monitor what they say?
So I can make sure that you use no coercion to stop the Porchenkos admitting that they want to defect.
Protocol allows them a private interview.
Well, I don't like it.
Well, you have no authority in this. If I have to, I'll bring you charges.
All right. All right. You'll have your interview. On one condition.
We make the conditions.
Not in this country.
What do you want?
You will be held here in the station.
Surrounded by your police? Absolutely not.
So no meeting.
Why are you being so intractable about this?
The Porchenkos' safety.
What can happen to them? They're in our country.
Need I remind you that a DVX agent tried to shoot them the other night with a gun in our country?
We know that's true.
All right. We will have a meeting here.
When?
My superior will be here from California in 2 days. There.
Fine. You'll set it up with the Porchenkos then?
Hey, look, I apologize for being a bit hard-nosed about this, but, well, I'm just thinking of the Porchenkos' safety.
As are we.
I'll be in touch.
2 days, Mr. Scorpio. And no tricks.
You can count on my full cooperation.
This isn't necessary.
Look, I'm simply trying to make my point.
I see it, all right. I understand it. I can almost sympathize with it, but as I've told you again and again, there's not a thing we can do about it.
Going along with this goes against every principle I know.
America, give us your helpless, your homeless.
I don't need this from either of
No,
you.
but you do need us, don't you? The Porchenkos trust us.
Yes. And it's up to you to put them at ease.
By lying to them?
By explaining that they have nothing to worry about.
They have everything to worry about. You don't seem to understand what kind of people we're dealing with.
The DVX is no more a mystery to me than it is to you.
Okay, then how can you allow them to let you go along with this?
It's called international law, Scorpio. And you of all people should know what kind of consequences our country could face.
Look, for 1 second, let's forget the bloody country, huh? We're talking about individuals, human beings here.
Defectors.
Exactly. Defectors. So why do you treat them like they're common criminals?
Yeah.
Dr. and Mrs. Porchenko, come in, please. Make yourselves comfortable.
Comfortable.
We realized how difficult this must be for you.
You perhaps, Grant, but the others I am not so sure about.
Believe me, Doctor, none of us want this to happen.
We have to see them, don't we?
I'm afraid so.
Two of your countrymen, your fellow countrymen, want to speak to you.
Countrymen? You call them countrymen, right? They are the DVX. And they will use every method they can to get what they want. Mr. Scorpio, but I am not in any need of sympathy.
We trusted you. We put ourselves into your hands.
Mrs. Porchenko, Robert had no idea. This is a government situation, and they have to handle things as diplomatically as possible.
Do you call this diplomacy? These people will do whatever they can to get what they want. They are trained to intimidate. They are trained to kill. They are the real reason why we left the homeland.
Protection. That's the only thing we wanted from you.
So little to ask.
Look, nothing is going to happen to you. I will take every precaution to guarantee you.
You don't understand.
Professor, I do understand. I was one of them. And there was a time when I decided to stay in this country that I, too, had to face them. In a situation, in fact, several situations, much more dangerous than this.
We're going to be right here, close at hand.
Our presence is going to ensure your safety.
We'll put you in an office right across the hall. All you have to do is yell out and somebody will come right in. They've assured me they only want to talk with you.
A lot can happen in a few short minutes.
You may wish to be diplomatic, Mr. Jackson. But you can be sure they have no such intention. Anyway, they can. They want us back.
Perhaps if Mr. Scorpio could be in the office with us at the meeting.
Well, I'm certainly in for it, yeah.
Yes, right here, next to us. Maybe that will deter them from using any physical violence.
All right, what do you say?
Impossible.
But
it's their diplomatic right to see you in private.
Their rights. What about our rights? Don't we have right to protection?
As defectors, you have very few rights at all.
You make it sound like we have done something bad. We have left our home, our family, never to return. We are at your feet begging for mercy.
Professor, please try to understand. Everyone here, I assure you, everyone here is on your side.
Then help us.
We'll be right across the hall.
No, that's not good enough, Grant. You know that.
I don't know what else we can do.
Look, Jackson, as a representative of the State Department, it's your obligation to guarantee these people's safety.
How do you propose I do that?
By making sure there will be no violence at the meeting.
I don't understand why everyone thinks there's going to be violence.
You know, it's funny. The DVX has that reputation.
I want to guarantee that there will be no physical abuse, no drugs, and no brainwashing.
Come on.
He's dead serious.
All right. I will see to it that the meeting is conducted according to the proper rules.
Thank you.
It's too bad Mr. Scorpio didn't adhere to the rules himself. If he had, our government wouldn't be in this jam.
How long do we have?
Well, they're waiting down the hall.
All right. Let's get on with it. Send them in, Mr. Jackson.
Very good.
Professor, I give you my word. I am not going to let anything happen to you. We'll be just across the wall.
You know, they didn't look violent to me. They looked just kind of ordinary.
Looks can be deceiving.
I wonder what they're saying to them.
I'll tell you exactly, Captain. First, the soft cell. How could you do this, or what have they got here that you haven't got at home approach?
So, what if that fails?
The slow turning of the screws begins.
What do you mean?
Anything from threats to cigarette butts.
Oh, come on. Now, you gotta be kidding. They wouldn't try anything here, not in a police station.
The Porchenkos weren't convinced.
It's not the physical violence that worries them, it's the intimidation.
Yeah, it's like the dog whose bark is worse than its bite. These guys rely on their reputations.
That's right. Back in the homeland, the stories of DVX horrors are legend.
Control through intimidation. Sad as it may be, half the world's going like that.
Yeah, and here we are. We can't do a darn thing about it.
No. They've probably got the Porchenkos' airline tickets in their hands now as we speak.
It's been over an hour already. There you go.
You can't imagine it. You have no idea what those people are going through.
Well, I'll tell you this. If it goes on for too much longer, I'm going to put a stop to it.
Defecting. You know, you never hear about it in this country.
People giving up everything just for the promise of something better.
I wonder.
What do you mean?
Well, what do we have to offer the Porchenkos of this world? Red tape, American official abuse, broken promises.
Except you're forgetting one thing.
I hope you're going to say freedom.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I just hope it's worth them risking their lives and certainly their futures for it.
To some people, it's worth all that and more. It was to me. You know, I'll tell you something about this system that we live in. You can gripe and you can complain all you want about taxes and bureaucracy, but when you get right down to it, there's not another place on earth that you can be this free. Now, if that's not worth dying for, I don't know what is.
I wonder if Porchenko knows that.
He knows it. If he didn't, that meeting would have been over after 15 minutes, and they'd be en route to the motherland right now.
You know, we all take it too much for granted.
One of your men was asking for you, Captain Ramsey.
Oh, gee, I forgot. Listen, I've got to get outside. You will let me know if something happens, huh?
Yeah, Bert, yeah. Well?
It's over.
And?
Big trouble. The Porchenkos refused to go back to the homeland voluntarily.
That's a surprise?
The DVX is demanding, Scorpio, that you turn them over at once.
Absolutely out of the question.
You don't have a choice, Scorpio. I'm not giving you one. We have to turn them over to the DVX immediately.
I gave them my word.
I realize that.
I promised them.
None of us have any control over this.
We can refuse.
We can't.
You don't understand. You don't understand. I am refusing to hand them over.
Don't you know what this means?
We can't think about that.
Turning those people over to the DVX.
That's murder, that's what it is. And the blood is on all of our hands, Jackson.
You can't look on this as some kind of defeat.
That's what it is. I mean, what it is exactly.
Well, it's your own fault this is happening.
All right, I just don't need you sticking it to me, Jackson.
I still don't understand why we can't just refuse.
Because the DVX will make a very big deal out of it, that's why. They already accused the U.S. of coercion, abduction, even brainwashing.
That's ridiculous. Any brainwashing being done around here is being done by them.
We know that. They know that. Even the State Department knows that. But it's what the rest of the world thinks that has us worried.
There's got to be some way.
There isn't. We have got to cooperate with the DVX.
You're signing their death warrants, Jackson.
Sorry, I can't be concerned about
Well, damn it, I am concerned. That man was my teacher. He's a friend.
We are the most powerful government in the world.
Run by politicians, Robert. And this is an election year. No one, and I mean no one, wants to see an international incident come out of this.
Only I'd known. Had some idea.
It's the end of the line, Robert. The Porchenkos must be turned over to their people.